Good evening and welcome to Point Blank here at KTN News. Today we are shooting from the I&M studios of KTN at Kenyatta Road here in Nairobi. In 1961, Abraham Lincoln became the American president who ended the Civil War, white-on-white combat. He was assassinated in 1865. Jomo Kenyatta went to London, joined by Martin Shikuku, to negotiate the Lancaster constitutional arrangement that brought to bearing the Republic of Kenya. There have been many luminaries in this country. Kenneth Matiba, he fought from the outside. There was Tosha when Raila supported Kibaki. This country has seen luminaries. There's a man called Ekuru Aukot. He says anataka kupunguza mizigo. My question is this: does this man have what it takes? Is he a revolutionary? But before we talk with him, I want us first of all to look at where we have begun this debate. Raila Odinga says, punguza gunia.
A Chinese proverb that advises, be not afraid of going slowly, be afraid of standing still, could well best summarize Kenya's decades-long constitutional journey. From the series of the conferences held at Lancaster House, London and Government House, Nairobi in 1960, 1962 and 1963, where Kenya's constitutional framework was negotiated and agreed upon, to the birth of a republic on the 12th of December 1963, the promised dawn of freedom, progress and expansion of democratic space had been so close yet so far largely unattainable. Many of Kenya's shortcomings have been attributed to the systematic erosion of the independence constitution. The then powerful Attorney General Charles Jonjo orchestrated and oversaw the consolidation of executive power and authority in the imperial presidency during the reigns of Jomo Kenyatta and Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. As it became patently clear that the founding president was ailing, the Gikuyu, Embu and Meru Association Gema led a charge to change the constitution in 1976 to deny Vice President Moi from ascending to the presidency. A stern warning by Jonjo that to imagine the death of a sitting president would result in treason charges ended the countrywide tours organized by Kihika Kimani, Njoroge Mungai and Njenga Karume. It was, however, the introduction of Section 2A of the then Constitution in 1982 that professed Kenya to be a one-party state that dramatically altered the nation's fate. Led by the doyen of opposition politics Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Kenneth Matiba, Masinde Muliro and Charles Rubia, the fight for return to multi-partyism and democratic reform would take shape. In 1991, amidst mounting pressure from the West, Section 2A was repealed. In December 1992, the first multi-party general election was held, and incumbent President Moi emerged victorious despite claims of massive rigging. In the ensuing decades, many attempts were made to rewrite the constitution. There was the Inter-Parties Parliamentary Group Forum in 1997. This led to the Constitution of Kenya Review Act 1997 that finally, in 2000, established the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, chaired by Professor Yash Palgai. Then came the Bomas and Wako drafts, with the latter proceeding to the national referendum on the 21st November 2005. It was rejected by 58% of the voters. Following the post-2007 election violence, the Constitution of Kenya Review Act 2008 and the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Act 2008 were passed to facilitate the completion of review of the Constitution of Kenya. Tasked with preparing a draft constitution that would be acceptable to majority of Kenyans, the committee of experts led by Nzamba Kitonga delivered their final report to Parliament's Constitutional Oversight Implementation Committee on October 2010. After reaching consensus on the contentious issues, foremost among them the chapter on the executive, the proposed new Constitution of Kenya 2010 was put to the test on 4th of August 2010. 68.6% of Kenyans voted in favor of it. President Mwai Kibaki formally promulgated the same on the 27th of August 2010. Nine years since the Constitution's promulgation, there is now an attempt to amend Kenya's Constitution, led by a key member of the Committee of Experts, Dr. Ekuru Aukot of the Third Way Alliance Party, seeks to punguza mizigo so as to reduce the burden of cost of the current system, among other issues outlined in his radical proposal.
A man who has raised 1 million signatures, Daktari, is here. But before I talk to him, what has he done before?
Ekuru Aukot is the founder and the party leader of Third Way Alliance Kenya. The university lecturer was thrust into the limelight in February 2009 as a director, CEO of the Committee of Experts on Constitutional Review with Nzamba Kitonga as its chairperson. Born in Kapedo, Turkana, the 47-year-old was the first in his family to join university. He is a holder of PhD and LLM in International Refugee Law and Law in Development respectively from the University of Warwick, UK, as well as an LLB from the University of Nairobi. He has advised on a number of constitutional review dialogues and processes across the African continent, including that of the Gambia, South Sudan, Lesotho, Liberia, Somalia, and Madagascar. Aukot sought the Kenyan presidency on the 8th of August 2017 on a Third Way Alliance Kenya party ticket.
We believe that we've got the best program on how to change this country. So I'm looking forward to actually debating with everybody.
He came in a distant fifth with 27,400 votes cast in his favor, 0.18% of the total. Though Aukot offered his congratulations to President Uhuru Kenyatta, he sought and was included in a Supreme Court petition challenging the presidential election on the grounds that there were a number of anomalies which continue to recur throughout the election process.
There is indeed a problem with the transmission of the results. That nobody is denying. And the reason there is a problem with the transmission of the results is because what I think we've been fed since yesterday is not being backed by the relevant forms.
The petition proved successful, with Chief Justice David Maraga nullifying the presidential election on the 1st of September 2017 and ordering for a fresh election within 60 days.
Election is not an event. It is a process from the beginning to the end.
Having been left out of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's Gazette notice on presidential candidates eligible for the October 26, 2017 poll, Aukot would seek the court's intervention. On October 11, 2017, Justice John Mativo ruled that there was no reason why Third Way Alliance candidates should not be included in the list.
I want to thank NASA for supporting us in that cause. Our decision to participate was based on the fact that Third Way Alliance has always advocated that the Constitution of Kenya must be safeguarded and followed at all times.
Aukot came in third with 21,333 votes, amounting to 0.28%. It is, however, Aukot's drive to substantially alter the Constitution of Kenya that has catapulted the abrasive advocate back to the spotlight.
Punguza mizigo! Punguza mizigo!
His party's Punguza Mizigo initiative, much to the surprise of just about every first-name politician, met and surpassed the constitutional threshold by garnering 1.2 million signatures, according to the IEBC on July 18, 2019.
Punguza Mizigo is not competing with anyone. Anybody, any Kenyan has the right, constitutional right, to come up with suggestions on how this country can change forward. I think what we need to change in our minds and hearts is that this country cannot forever wait for a few individuals to tell us this is the way to go.
Mheshimiwa, karibu sana KTN.
Asante sana, Tony.
We're happy to have you here.
Long time. I haven't seen you in a very long time.
My brother is your fan.
Absolutely.
He's been telling me, brother, wewe kwa nini unalenga daktari?
Yeah, because ni kama nyinyi mlikuwa mmeamua, you just have to talk to certain type of politicians who you believe can only bring change in this country. But many people think that we are all thinkers. Kenya belongs to all of us in equal measure, and that change in this country is not monopolized, cannot be personalized, as Gitobi Manyara has done in his
So you're also questioning my credentials, or the stations?
No, I'm not questioning your credentials, because I noticed, Tony, at the risk of criticizing you, you've hosted Raila, Orengo, Mbadi, from the same quarters for the longest time, and they come and talk about referendum. So that's why we challenged you last week, that give us the same platform, we respond to some of their lies. I think, but now we are even.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You know, when John Githongo came and David D, they couldn't believe that KTN can host them. So you're very welcome. Daktari, let me first start and ask you, do you think the 2010 constitution is a good constitution?
It is an extremely good constitution, very progressive, very developmental, and I've had the chance to travel around, actually, not the entire world, but quite a number of countries, where people have actually sought to understand how Kenya actually managed to make such a constitution. It has some of the most interesting features. For example, on the Bill of Rights, very progressive, all the categories of human rights. You know, we came from a constitution that only focused on civil and political rights. Now we have an expanded Bill of Rights that also includes group rights, economic rights. This is what we have, a chapter called Leadership and Integrity, the one and only one in the entire world where Kenyans have said we want a certain type and character of leaders. You know, so our constitution is very developmental. The fact that we are devolving money to the counties. Remember, during the oppressive KANU regime, they used to say that kama ukitaka maendeleo lazima ukue kwa KANU. You're familiar with that phrase. But with the new constitution, he is now saying we are treating everybody equitably, all the counties of Kenya, the 47 equitably. It actually comes with the resources. So that even us from Turkana land today, we can no longer, Tony, say we are marginalized. We can only marginalize ourselves from within marginalization, but we all bite at the national cake in equal.
So you claim that you are an architect, and I'll come to that shortly. But as you were planning with other people at Bomas and beyond,
I was at the committee of experts.
Do you agree that you put your best foot forward?
In the making of the constitution?
No, because before we come to the amendment of the document you co-wrote or co-sponsored, or you are involved in the architecture.
Yes, I was the director of the committee of experts.
So can we now agree that you take ownership of that process?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was involved, deeply involved. I traveled this country. I listened to Kenyans' views, and we reduced those views into what is the current constitution of Kenya, 2010. So yes, I take ownership. Together with others, of course, Tende Amolo.
That's fine. They're not here. This is point blank. You're here. They're not here. You are here.
Yes.
So you're telling the people of Kenya that after you played a role as director, others would call you secretary of the committee of experts. You are very involved.
I was involved.
And for
I was
younger
even
viewers
involved
to
in the
know-
drafting of some of the chapters.
Right. So, in other words, punguza mzigo, which we'll come to later in the show.
By the way, it's mizigo,
Mizigo.
in plural, because there's too many.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So your initiative towards bringing an amendment to the 2010 constitution should be understood that you are not just a Kenyan who just woke up unhappy with government and you want, or the structures of government, unhappy with that constitution, but you are involved Are they
So it's important for people to know that I'm very much aware, I'm familiar with the writing of this constitution. I was involved, and people should also know that even the time we are releasing the final report of the committee of experts, we had actually warned Kenyans against the cost of implementing our governance.
No,
so I have that background.
Let's first of all agree that you own the product of the 2010. Either you own or you don't. Then we come to the next step.
As a person who was directly involved in it, yes, I own up to it, but Kenyans should also own up to the fact that they woke up in large numbers and voted at about 69%.
So Kenyans are not here, you are here, and this is point blank.
Yes,
I
I
want
am.
to ask you about certain things, about what you created.
Yeah.
Daktari.
What Kenyans created. We created as a country.
Daktari, they can hear, they can make their own minds. But I want to ask you this very simply. The Constitution has many flaws. Among them, the constitutional commissions that were created. In fact, other people say that the blood was sucked out of civil society by hungry, I don't know, members or friends of civil society who were within the constitutional process, that it had to give something to everybody. So at the onset, let's first of all deal with the commissions created, whether it was the Nyachai-led commission. We can go to so many that came to naught. Why did you sign off on those constitutional?
First of all, because the product, the outcome of a constitution-making process is as a result of consultation. We went around this country and Kenyans expressed their views on what they wanted in the final document called now the Constitution of Kenya. As a constitutional law expert, you cannot run away from the views of the people. Constitutions are made from within the framework of society. It's people breathing life about their expectation in their social, in their political, in their economic aspirations. So our work as a committee of experts was to reduce those aspirations of Kenyans into the final document.
So Mheshimiwa, on constitutional commissions, do you regret creating them?
Oh, not at all. I don't regret creating them at all.
So you own that?
Yes, we own it. I mean, we don't. I mean, remember, almost every profession wanted a constitutional commission. We had to put our foot down and say no. We can't have every commission. Remember, the health sector has never forgiven the committee of experts for not having the health commission in it. But now people are realizing once you have, and we come to Punguza Mizigo, once we have now costed this governance, people are realizing, yeah, between actually this governance and services at the doorsteps, at the very doorsteps, then we need services more.
So as director of the 2010 Constitutional Committee of Experts, or secretary, you created, how many commissions did you create?
Oh, top of my
head.
Your
committee?
Top of my head, I can't remember, but I think there are several under Chapter 15 constitutional commissions.
Certainly above a dozen?
Maybe no. I mean, we have got the CIC, we have got Teachers Commission, we have got, I think we have about several, like I can't remember.
There's a reason I'm asking you point blank. This question.
We can consult right now.
I know, we'll talk after the break. The reasons I'm asking you point blank is that you have come with Punguza Mizigo as an issue, which we will address shortly.
Yes.
But Kenyans need to look back and say, you know, when you do land transactions, they say you're a buyer with clean hands. So we have to look back at the journey. And we have a solution to that, Tony. Even since you seem to be interested in the commissions, I will tell you this. Yes, we have a solution in Punguza Mizigo on the commissions. We have a direct proposal on how to address the cost that comes with those commissions, as many as they may be. I don't know the number, as many as they are. But we have made a concrete So point blank, you don't know the number. You have to consult.
No, we can look at the I mean, from my phone, I can tell you how many commissions are there. I mean,
but you knew you were coming to point blank, but you don't.
Well, he didn't come to ask. He didn't tell me to. He didn't send me your questions in advance. I would have done my research.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, I know there are several commissions under Chapter 15. That's not a big issue.
Do they achieve anything? Did you think the commissions gained much?
Well, I think they serve the purpose for which they were established in the first place. We have got the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, for example.
What has it achieved, Doctor?
Well, they are doing cohesion matters. I think they are going around. You may have to go and ask them exactly what the achievements are, but I know they publish reports. We have got the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We've got the
as our director
we have got the Gender Commission
of the Committee of Experts. If you look backward, and I ask you honestly, do you regret?
I don't regret a thing. I think, listen, I don't regret at all having come up with the 2010 Constitution in this country. The question we should be asking ourselves, and which is why perhaps we are here, is the Constitution serving Kenyans effectively or as it was intended? You know, there is nothing, by the way, a Constitution, Tony, is just a piece of paper. You have to breathe life into it for it to be worth. It may not even be what the paper is written on if you don't...
so we've dealt with the commissions,
Yes.
and then let's go on to the other issue.
Yeah.
You created the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
In your view, as the Constitution was being laid out or was being formed, did you discuss why we need a Supreme Court?
Yes, we did. And the whole answer of why the Supreme Court was there. Remember, we made this constitution at a time when the general indictment of our judiciary was that it was overtly corrupt. You remember the radical surgery of the judiciary by Aaron Ringera and the report that came thereafter. If you also remember the harmonized draft of November 2009, in which Kenyans had actually said that let's disband the judiciary as it is and let's recruit them afresh. And that's how the question of vetting of judges and magistrates came about. But we said, listen, we cannot create a crisis even though we really want a new order in our country. And that explains, and among other things, okay, how do we ensure there are checks and balances? We need an apex court that will, one, help interpret the Constitution, give this Constitution a proper interpretation. And that's why the Supreme Court is there. We elevated, for example, the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to handle matters presidential petition, for example.
So Mheshimiwa, you first of all support, so you own that it was important to...
It was important, and that agreement was reached then in 2010, and Kenyans voted overwhelmingly for the new Constitution.
When the Supreme Court was tested after the last election, there was a problem about the issues. Unless the media quoted
what
you...
What issues specifically?
Well, I just want to ask you the question. Unless the media quoted you wrong, initially you were going to support a petition by then the opposition, NASA.
I did support.
Okay.
It's on record.
So
and we are the only political party, by the way, that actually conducted an audit of the transmission of the results of the August 2017 general election. We are the only political party that came up with a list of irregularities and illegalities, which we filed at the Supreme Court in support of Raila Odinga's petition against President Uhuru Kenyatta. So, and in nullifying the election, Justice David Maraga said because of irregularities and illegalities, this election is nullified and to be repeated. So we contributed, we supported.
So, and I'm asking point blank, so Raila Odinga and his supporters, who I'm sure are watching you tonight at point blank, they say that at the middle of the petition you abandoned them.
That's not true. Raila Odinga and Ken Orengo are liars, and I will call them out on this show. They are lying, they are misleading Kenyans. They think that they are the only ones who can initiate political narratives. First of all, I had Orengo lie in his backyard village in Siaya that I did not support them. I did support them. And for me, the point is this. And Raila Odinga and Orengo and the rest should stop being vigeu. They went to court with my full support that we don't agree with this, the transmission of results. We successfully managed to nullify the election of August. We were then ordered by the same Supreme Court that you must now go and repeat this election but follow the Constitution, Article 140, Sub-Article 3. That's what it's called, fresh election. But because both Jubilee and NASA had captured IEBC or infiltrated IEBC, they went and did their theatrics, and they only gazetted the two of them. Again, it's me who refused and said, no, that was not the interpretation of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said this election is nullified ab initio, right from the very beginning, as if there was no election. There were 8 candidates in that election. They decided they were only going to gazette 2 of them, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. It's me again who went to court and said, let's seek the proper interpretation of this, of what a fresh election means. And Tony, just in case you did not know, we saved this country because the NASA brigade were actually organizing for violence.
So I'm trying, and I don't want to interrupt you, but Point Blank has talked to ODM, the party, who said you abandoned the presidential petition. Now,
which one?
No, I want to just clear, so we move on to many issues. I'm talking about the petition. You say they're lying.
But which petition exactly?
No, the presidential petition.
Which one?
When Uhuru won the election, Raila Odinga challenged
the second one
at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but
and ODM's view was that you were initially...
Raila Odinga did not participate in the August election, so he had no business coming to court to say he wants to be involved.
So for the record...
And the court agreed with us. They were kicked out of the Supreme Court.
So I'm just saying to you, ODM has said to Point Blank that you abandoned them.
So they came to lie, because what is abandoning? I did not abandon. I was an interested party in both the first presidential petition of August. I was an interested party in the second presidential and you know, history will one day judge me right. In the first election, I supported Raila Odinga. In the second election, I disagreed with him over the fact that you cannot choose when to use the Constitution and the law. You use the law in the first instance, and then in the second instance, say, I don't want to use it. That's not a person who believes in the rule of law. He is not a Democrat. So for me, I did not abandon any petition. I was there.
So let's come back to the 2010 Constitution. And Mheshimiwa, what do you think was the successes of the 2010 Constitution? We've talked about the Bill of Rights. I interviewed Yash Guy some months back here at Point Blank, and he felt the Bill of Rights was strong. But he said to me at Point Blank, not Raila Odinga, Yash Guy told me that he thinks we made a mistake with the structure of the executive. And his view, which KTN will rerun when we air this program, what the guy said about it, the guy thinks we should have a parliamentary system. And I want to remove the Odinga factor and come back to the letter of the law. What do you think about the executive structure?
But Tony, what is the magic around this parliamentary system? What is the magic around prime minister? It's not like we haven't tried it before. Our we had a first prime minister at independence. We had a prime minister who even enjoyed 50-50 power sharing between 2007 and 2013. So there's nothing magical around it. It's just a system of governance. All we need to care about, what people like Yash Guy should be saying, is not to analyze the constitution with individuals in mind.
Oh, are you saying the guy has an individual?
Obviously, he's a pro-NASA fellow, and I know that for a fact. There is one of the people who oppose Punguza Mizigo without even any proper critique. I'll have expected that he will put his professorial eye on the issues that we have actually raised. So for me, I think the problem...
So ODM, Raila, Yash Guy, is there anyone in the movement?
Wetangula, Kalonzo Musyoka, they are all ganged up against Punguza Mizigo. But what saddens me, and we'll come to that specifically, is that they are not even giving a critique, as you will expect of intellectuals.
But they're not here, you're here. I'm only asking.
Yes, so I'm telling you. So I'm reporting also to you that what I've had. For example.
So I asked you what Guy said.
So So Yashpal Guy, I think, should be able to tell us why a parliamentary system is better than what we have today.
He said that he thinks people will be held to account in Parliament.
No, but still today, they are counting. I mean, they're already measures we can actually still use to account, to make sure that the government accounts. I've not seen parliamentary accounts committees summon ministers. I mean, I've seen them do it. They're doing it now. In fact, what is happening is that the people who are agitating for parliamentary system are the ones who are killing democracy inside parliament today.
I'm still with Yash Guy, who has been involved in 15 constitutions. He was, you know why I'm asking
I
this?
have no problem.
To depoliticize.
Yes.
Point Blank really wants to get behind what you're saying. And I'm asking, if Guy comes to Point Blank and says that in his considered view, that a parliamentary system is better than a presidential system in Kenya, and he puts the narrative, you want Kenyans to support your bill, and we'll come to that. My question is Yash Guy wrong? Because you see, all the years of his experience, is it Raila Odinga?
It's not a question of whether he's wrong or right. I mean, it's his opinion. I mean, parliamentary system, presidential system also works successfully depending on the context. And I think in any countries of the world, there are even countries that do not have constitution. For example, England, and even Israel, they don't have constitution. New Zealand, I think, just not long ago. So it's about stewardship in any country. Whether you have got a parliamentary or a presidential system, it doesn't matter. It's about how do you achieve the objects of governance. How do you make sure that you breathe life to the governance structures in a country? So those systems are all over there. I don't think Kenya is necessarily tailor-made for a parliamentary system. Just like the way you can say it's not necessarily a presidential system. So whatever system we chose, and Kenyans made this decision. It's not about, Yashpal Guy is expressing his opinion as a professor of law. Perfect.
It's out there. I've asked, you've answered. Let's move on. The 2010 Constitution, as published, as enacted, as promulgated, in your mind, did it capture what percentage of what was right or wrong? How would you rate it in percentage terms?
Well, to be honest with you,
overall,
I would say our constitution is fairly good. Maybe I'll put it at like 80+%. There is no perfect constitution anywhere in the world. Even the American Constitution, as people sometimes talk about it, has had to undergo a lot of amendments. So I think our constitution, I will not say is perfect. The only document we cannot amend, Tony, is the Bible, the Quran, and those other religious.
So as we will come to many things, the 2010 Constitution created some things It enabled, as I said, and then history will judge you, whether you created too many commissions and whether that was a mistake. But it also created women. And
Didn't create women, it created a question of gender equality. Equity, rather.
Well, let me put it to you as the question. You can answer it, and I agree. I think whether it is a woman leader, whether it is, would you say that before it, less women were involved in politics?
It's true, and what we did, we deliberately made a decision. We looked at the history of gender imbalance and discrimination in our country, and we felt that women are as important as men, and therefore we created the 47 seats deliberately with a view that women will actually champion agenda, if I could use those words, in Parliament. For example, I would have expected that women would probably pick the reproductive health issues, which is provided for in Article, I think 47 or 43, if I'm not wrong, and run with it and address issues to do with gender issues. I think that hasn't happened from when you come to the proposals in Punguza Mizigo specifically.
We'll deal with that. But what I'm saying, the 2010 Constitution, would you agree it was pro-women?
Well, it was pro-Kenyans, because women was just but a section. You can as well say, because we are addressing issues of minorities, marginalized groups, it was pro those. So the idea was to address all the issues of concern to us.
So in your view, and this is point blank, you don't think that the ordinary woman felt more empowered by the 2010 Constitution?
Every Kenyan got empowered.
I'm talking about women.
Okay, women, yes, women.
Are you ducking the question?
No, I'm not ducking the question.
So I'm asking about a specific issue. Do you think women felt empowered by the 2010?
Yes, I should think so. I mean, I should think so. And I think maybe you should invite a woman parliamentarian or an ordinary woman, Wanjiku, to interview Wanjiku.
I will, but now you are the one of
yes.
So you want Kenyans to support you. So I'm just asking your views.
I do believe the Constitution empowered women, especially in terms of, and of course other Kenyans as well, especially in terms of taking resources to the counties, in terms of being specific, in terms of nominating women, giving them political voice. Yes, I do believe. If you look at the human rights that are being addressed in the Constitution, it empowers women, just like it empowers everybody else.
I want to ask you, in the shortcomings of the 2010 Constitution...
Which you must, all, by the way, tell me which ones they are, so that I can respond
yes,
to you.
and we will. Among them, I want to raise one issue. And this one is about the issue of the tiers of government, that there is need for devolution. As we come to the next segment, we'll discuss more about your bill. But just the general philosophy of the 2010 Constitution, looking at the imperial presidency and the need to devolve power. Dr. Aukot, point blank, do you think the 2010 Constitution is pro-devolution?
Very much so, because if you look at, I mean, I told you earlier on that during the KANU regime, it was conditional for you to get development, but you must belong to KANU. So what the new constitution, the 2010 constitution did is to say, listen, the people of Kenya are equal. They must all eat the national cake in equitable measure. And that's why you have got, the commissions like the Revenue Commission redistributing money equitably based on the need. So yeah, it's pro-devolution. And in fact, when we talk about Punguza Mizigo, I'll also explain to you how we want to even strengthen devolution further. Today in Kenya, there is nobody who can say, wherever you may be, that you are being marginalized or you are denied development. If your governor, the people who have given resources steal that money, it's not a problem of the constitution, it's not a weakness of devolution, it's a weakness of leadership in those specific countries.
You're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. The Chinese have a proverb that the ox is slow, but the earth is patient. But they also caution, I don't know if Dr. would agree, that ambition without knowledge is like a ship on land. This is KTN News.